Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Wild Woman podcast. Today, I have another inspiring guest with me, as are all my guests. Gretta McManus is from Mayo on the west coast of Ireland, and we were only introduced quite recently. But I have to say, just through a brief conversation, I felt hugely, as I said, inspired by her story. I think it is the story of many women today, and she is going to share the journey she's been on. She continues to be on, what it has taught her, what she has learned. But what I really have taken from this is someone who grew up in a family-run business, went on to set up her own business. She's a hairdresser by trade. She's gone into so many other different things now, teaching meditation. She'll share all that. But what really, really struck me in the conversation is this is a woman who had to lose an awful lot to find herself, as is the story of so many, and as has many women and men had to survive in the world through living through her masculine energy, which is important, but it's really the journey of coming back. What I'm sensing is coming truly into her feminine and living from there and working from there and leading from there. And that is a passion of mine as well. I think this is the shift we are all a part of in the world, men and women. So without further ado, welcome, Gretta. I'm so delighted to have you here today.
Thank you so much, Celine, and I'm very privileged and honoured and grateful to be here.
Good. And I love what you have. I love what you do.
Yes.
um, I think that is the key. I think that is the key. So just maybe tell us a little bit about what you are doing now, and maybe what led you. Maybe we'll start with, more what has led you, maybe a little bit about your backstory. I know you grew up in a family-run business, and what sort of a journey that brought you on and what it has taught you.
Well, hi everybody. My name is Gretta McManus. Some people know me as Gretta Mac. And my journey, I always start off with this, that when the placenta was cut from the womb, I was born into a family business. And I believe on that day that I was automatically given the name of an entrepreneur because I was brought up in a corner shop in a small community. And I, believe that that's where my journey started. The minute I came into this beautiful world by my beautiful mother and father. And I think that's where my entrepreneurship started. And I was reared probably on the counter in the corner shop, and probably half the customers reared me, along with my parents, obviously. So yeah, so I got a lot of my early years, I suppose, and my work ethic and my values and all the love I got, the struggles. So I would have been, in that environment. So we never had a tea time or a dinner time. It was always, when we got it, and our shop opened at 8 a.m. and didn't close till 12 p.m. The door closed, but people came around the back. It was very much a family run business, part of a very small community. And we were on the corner here in Irishtown. And, many a story was told. My granny used to bring all her friends in on a Sunday morning, and they used to have the ice cream around the fire. And, that's where all the stories were told. And, I suppose I got a lot of my own true self from the first early part of my years from the corner shop, and definitely it led me to where I am today with my work ethic,
Mhm. Did you enjoy it? Did you enjoy that time?
that's an interesting question because I probably did at the time. I knew no different. So that's very interesting question because later on in life, when life became busy and I ended up being my own entrepreneur, running the family business. But what I did is I went to London and I went into my own hairdressing career. I came back and I changed the business. So things changed then. So a lot of people would say to me, "Oh, you work such long hours, you work so hard." That never was I never looked at myself like that because I was born in a shop that never had an end time or a beginning time or an end time. So I never saw working 70 hours a week as a lot of work because I knew no different. So because I knew no different, to work 40 hours a week for me would be like nothing. And I don't mean nothing. I don't mean to devalue anybody that's working 40 hours a week, because I've changed my life, as I'll tell you further on the podcast. And I'm not that person anymore. But I saw no different because that's where I was brought up.
Mm.
And, there was a lot of different, when our cousins would come home from England, they would all help in the shop. Half them were reared in the shop and they had their fun. And so I never knew any different. To me, my work, my really, really strong, hard work ethic came from where I was reared. And I enjoyed all that time, to answer your question, but I knew no different. I thought my life was wonderful.
Mm. Sounds like life and work sort of were one.
Yeah, life and work were one.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
was there so you did say there was enjoyment, but it just really strikes me. I'm very drawn to this because I think it's sort of been recovered nearly in Ireland when you talk about, your grandmother and the Sunday morning and the ice cream and the chat. And to me, there was so much in that we have missed, sort of, because we've all got so busy, this sort of connection, this just sitting with each other and hearing each other. Like what I love doing on this podcast, it feeds me in a way that I feel my soul is calling for. And just when you say that, I just go, so there was obviously also an element of nurturing within that busyness, if you know what I mean. Was there a connection and a belonging?
You've
Did you feel
triggered
that?
something within me, Celine, funnily
Mm,
enough, that, you know, I talk a lot about and this is very interesting. This is very interesting that you asked that question. My values are connection, communication, fun, love, giving,
mm.
and growth.
Give the
So now
shivers
that
now
you
when you say
say
that.
that, yeah, it probably came from there, the love from the shop, the fun. We always had laughter. My mother was
Mm,
always laughing. She had her struggles, don't get us wrong, like everybody, but she could laugh through them. Connection,
mm,
communication, growth, and the love. So my values are so strong, and I talk about them, but I can never explain them to people. But now I've just explained them. That's actually where they
mm,
came from, the
mm.
corner shop, and
I know,
they're
I feel it.
things you
Sorry, I
can't.
just feel it when you're talking.
Yeah, and they're things you can't change within yourself.
Mm, mm,
So I'm a really strong communicator, and it probably drives a lot of my people and my tribe crazy, because I don't mind whether it's negative or it's positive. And now I'm realizing that that must be where my core strong values came from. So that's an awakening for me today.
mm. And you have it behind you, like, love what you
Yeah,
do. And it
I
seems like it was
did.
there.
I want
It
to use
nearly fell
that.
over there.
Yeah, nearly fell over. That's my mother.
Yeah, she's reminding.
She's reminding me.
Yeah, I get a beautiful feel just when you talk about that, because
Yeah.
often, yeah. So take us then, because this to me is, you describe something beautiful there. Yes, it was difficult. It doesn't mean life is without its challenge, but what keeps you going is this connection, this love,
Yeah.
this nurturing. You sound like you're part of the community. Everybody's in it together. Yes, there were ups and downs, but you were all there for each other. And then it feels to me, sorry, no, just that a lot of the journey all of us have gone on is then we went into this view of the world of work, 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 without we losing sort of the belonging and the connection and the love, because that is how our society evolved. And then we end up burnt out going, what's gone wrong? So take us on that journey with you, for you, because I know you've really
Yeah.
been through it. And
Yeah, so my journey then, they were my first early days of my childhood, the shop, and I went on my own journey then, and I hairdressed. And being honest with you, I probably landed on hairdressing because I'm still trying to work out who I am, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. And my mother always supported me, encouraged me, and always, whatever choices I made and decisions, she always encouraged me. So she said, "Oh, we'll do a hairdressing course." Being honest, I think it was just that was what was available to me, because I wasn't interested in school. Wasn't academic, but I was very creative. And later on in life, I discovered I was dyslexic. If I'd known that back then when I was at school, life would have been different for me. And I don't regret, anything, but I'm delighted that I can speak about my dyslexia now. I didn't discover until I was later on in life, and at least those things are being noticed now
Yeah.
earlier. So
Very
that really,
stressful, I can
yeah,
imagine, not
very
knowing.
stressful. You know, back then you might have thought, oh my God, I'm not good at school. You know, all these negative things could have been said to you by people that didn't know any better. And they put thoughts in your mind then, you know. But I was very supported at home, so I was lucky because it got me out of school. So mum would say, oh, you'll do a day's work in the shop. And I'd say, oh, that's brilliant, brilliant. She saw my work ethic. So she'd allow me to be off school, but there was a pay for it. You'll do a day's work and I'll treat you in Galway to something nice. So it was beautiful. So yeah, so I went on my own journey of hairdressing and I went to London. And I loved London, absolutely loved London. I had some great fun. And at the time, there was no such thing as minimum wage.
At
So
what age were you then,
what
Gretta?
age was I then? I was 18.
Hmm.
18. And yeah, there was no such thing as minimum wage. So you got, I think, £34 a week or something as a junior. Even though I was qualified, you had to start back as your junior. So that brought me on a beautiful journey of meeting some of my best friends today. And then my mom got sick, so I came back to help her in the shop. And in all fairness, she always left it to be my decision whether I was to come back, but I never regret it now. But at the time, I don't think I was old enough to know any better because I hadn't traveled enough, you know, and my love and connection, I suppose now talking to you, was always back at home. You know, that's where my love was, even though I was exploring the world and, you know, it was really out there for me, but I made a choice to come home to my mother and father and my brother. I don't know where he was at the time. He could have been actually in London as well at the time. So I have one brother and one daughter, Chloe, and so I came back to Irish Town and I took over the corner shop and I reinvented it. So I added a filling station, added a post office, and I still managed to keep my hairdressing career through all that. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, through all that. So
That
that's where
work
my
ethic
70
stood to
hours
you.
work ethic came in. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
Wow, that's incredible. So
yeah.
you come back to Irish Town, and what happens then? So you're back in, what year was that? Sorry, just
What year? I was 20, so I went to London
you
when
were
I was 18 and probably when I was 24.
so
So
you were young enough. You
I
come
was
back.
young, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I took over the corner shop and settled, and then, you know, life took me on a journey. This is where my own journey of being an entrepreneur came in, and life took me into different circles, community, relationship. My parents were alive here and well at the time, but then their health started to get deteriorating. The downturn came and a lot of things happened. So I had a lot of losses. I lost both my parents in a year and a half. I had a relationship breakdown. I had a physical and mental breakdown myself, and it all happened within a very short period of time. And then, you know, the Celtic Tiger was gone, and we were left, you know, raw. I was
Wow.
left as a raw woman.
So your business, everything, like
Yes,
losing your parents, did the
yeah,
business go, everything?
yeah, lost everything.
Lost everything.
But I have an amazing inspiration. And I was thinking about it before I come on this morning. Who inspired me? And two people, obviously, and that's my mom and my dad. But my dad, especially through this, because my mom had died and she had dementia, and I cared for both of them. And he lost his leg through an illness. And when he lost his leg, he gained his life. So what I learned is it was a roller coaster. I had a break in and I had guards on my door and a lot of chaos. And then 24 hours later, my father had his leg amputated.
God.
And I had to go from guards to surgeons within 24 hours. My life was chaos, absolute chaos. And when he lost his leg, I'm laughing because, you know, when I went into the hospital, you know, he lost his pain and his pain went. So when he lost his pain, he gained his life Now, he did die 6 months after, but we had the most beautiful 6 months of our life. He taught me so much. He taught me when you lose something, you gain something. So yes, I had an awful lot of personal losses in my life at a very short period. But what I learned is you gain so much more. But while you're going through those losses, the pain is there. So what my father taught me is when the pain goes, you gain. And sometimes for him, his pain was, no, luckily enough, it was a short period of time. It was probably 2 to 3 years. He suffered from ulcers and stuff. For me, when I look back, my pain was probably longer than I realized when I went soul searching. But I had an addiction, and now I know what my addiction is through my recovery. It was work. I was addicted to work, and where I was trying to avoid myself, my voice in my head, who I was, I threw it into work. I threw it into caring for my parents. I threw it into my businesses. I threw it into making sure my staff were okay, and never looked after myself. But I don't regret one iota thing, because I gave my parents everything I could give to the end. And I had the most beautiful, time with my father before he died, and my mother. And, that's my father. My father was one of my inspirations. So he had his first hangover at 72. He had his first helicopter ride. He couldn't walk his land anymore. So we went to a wedding together, and he was in his wheelchair and I was with him. And the man at the table said, in 24 hours, you will fly your land. So he flew his land. I became his voice. Everywhere I went, he came with me. And he taught me so much.
I think he's here. I'm getting these shivers.
Yeah, he's here. That generation was so resilient. They were so amazing, and they passed a lot on to us. And, I'm so grateful for that. So grateful for that.
It seems to be so key. Just the more I listen to you and you talk about how busy and them running their business and this, but yet there was love and
Oh,
belonging and
yeah.
nurturing, and then you went on your path. But somewhere in our history, I feel, anyways, I can only speak for myself, that yes, the busyness and what you described, this workaholism, takes over, but the connection, we sort of seem to lose the connection. And I think that my sense is that's how they sustained it, because they were in it together. And I just hear, listening to you, this is to me what a lot of us have been reunited. Or I'm back with my mother, particularly since the last few years, as parents and are getting older, and we went into COVID and lockdown, and that learning from your father. So just what I'm hearing is it's like their gift to us, the
Yeah.
ancestors, to remind us, yes, you can be busy and do the work doing what you love, but this connection, we need to recover it. Would you say there's something in that message from being with your
Absolutely. And
father?
because I went on my own journey then, and I got stripped back from everything, absolutely everything. And, losing them was very, very difficult. Losing your businesses was very difficult. But I lost my will to, I lost my will and my drive, and I lost part of myself. So I now say to myself, who am I without my thoughts, without my values, without the identity of the corner shop, without the hairdressing identity, the coaching identity? Who am I? And that's what I started looking. Who am I? Because this quiet time started appearing, and then I had to start looking. And then there's only two emotions in the world, love and fear. So I started realizing that I was started coming from fear, and it started taking over my body. It started taking over in a whirl. And when I would feel the whirl, I would work. When I would feel the whirl, I would work. That was what I was filling it with. People fill it with different things. Some people might never fill it at all. Bless them, because it's wonderful. But I felt that's how I started filling it. And then when my businesses went, I had to really look, and say, oh, what am I now going to fill it with? So the fear started coming up. And I started working within myself, and with all the demons, the characters, the guilt, the shame, the judgment, I believe we all have a character at different stages in our life within ourselves. It's very hard to admit that, and very hard to look at that. But I was forced to look at it.
What
Is it
happened,
easy? No.
Greta? Sorry to interrupt you, but just you described such a sort of collapse of everything. How did that, and you said you had a bit of, a physical and mental breakdown, which I can identify with. I had sort of a view of what that looked like. I know I went through it myself, but I kept a sort of a front. What happened then? Like, what helped you out of that hole, I suppose? What was the start of coming out of that?
It's funny because I felt you were going to ask me this question
Mm.
today. It was a book called Shepherd's Pie.
Ah, you mentioned.
Yeah, yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, a book
Yes,
called
please
Shepherd's
share.
Pie, and my cousin gifted it to me. And if anybody has read it, and if you haven't, if you're an entrepreneur or anybody, read it. I really, 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 it changed my life. And my daughter was the other thing. The
Mm,
book and my daughter resembled what Shepherd's Pie was. He had a very, very bad moment where he was going to, not be in this world, and he thought of his son, and all he could afford that day was shepherd's pie, and he called his book Shepherd's Pie. And I just thought of my daughter, and I thought, I have to be strong for her. I have to be here for her. I am her inspiration. As a mother, she has an amazing father, obviously, as well. But as a mother, I had to be there for her. So I went on my journey and I read the book, and he just turned everything around. He just looked at himself and he just grew up. He started facing all his fears. Now, a lot of my fears were in the financial world. So a lot of my fears were, we talked about this already, I was in my
mm,
masculine side. So what does that mean to anybody that might know that? Because people ask me all the time. So your masculine side, now energetic people, I might be getting this right or wrong, but for my belief system, it's all on your left side, it's all your left energy. It's coming from, for me, I had to fight or flight. I had to fight, for my corner, my businesses. I hadn't time to grieve because everything went so fast. So I was coming from all my masculine side. So I had to make business decisions. I had to give redundancies. We had to close down businesses. I had to close down accounts. I had to face with revenue, all those parts of the financial world. And I had to. So it's funny. Somebody said to me this morning, we were talking about somebody in the gym, and we were talking about somebody that gives a persona of how he comes across. And then I had a little think about it out in the car, and I thought, that's how I came across in my businesses. My electrician said to me after everything had settled, oh my God, we used to fear coming into you, because I was so like, how much is the price? That's the price. I was very, focused on
mm,
my business. So people saw me as this entrepreneur and strong, where actually when I crashed, I still didn't let people see I crashed, because I'm very strong. So this is what I'm going to talk about now, the divine feminine. And I never allowed my right hand side, my feminine side, to be seen. So what is that? That's our vulnerability. That's where our softness is. That's where my bladder is behind my eyes and it weeps. I blocked all that through work, through other things too. Sugar sometimes. Sugar
mm.
was another one I used to latch on to. And I hid all that. So I'm not there, but I'm softly unveiling that feminine side of myself. So to answer the question, reading Shepherd's Pie, my daughter, I looked into her eyes and I thought, I'll be there for you. Absolutely, I'll be there. I'll become the best version of myself, and I will, turn all this around. Was it easy? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I was in a -10 dark hole, and I started slowly coming back out of it. But haven't shared it with people, because people would still see me as a strong entrepreneur, blah, 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 because I didn't show it. I didn't have time, number one, to show it. And if I did, I think I would have never got out of bed. Hope that answers your question, Celine.
No, it does. It's beautiful because my sense as well, and I would have been on a similar path in a different way. I didn't run my own business, but I call it sort of this, and for I think most people now, when we talk about the masculine and feminine, we're talking about the energies, not the gender. Um,
Yeah.
it can be whatever way, but we all have this sort of intuitive, soft, creative, raw, real. It's powerful too, but it's a different type of power to the masculine. And my sense of the masculine, and there's a new type of masculine coming in. I've many people have spoken about this through men, because a lot of that was a very distorted masculine energy that all of us had, men and women. They talk about the patriarchy, and that's been sort of cleaned out, because we need what you describe now, you coming into your feminine. You still have to have that sort of structure and safety and strength within you. So that sort of is re-emerging, I believe, in the world. But the women, I'm not saying women, but the feminine energy has sort of come in earlier, and they're coming into balance. So how has, in going on that journey and rediscovering and being in the process of discovering the feminine, what has been the hardest part of, did that sort of naturally emerge, that you said, oh, the softer side is coming out? How did that start to come up in you? Because you were keeping everything going, and you had to, as you said.
I'm smiling because it definitely was not easy. It's easier being my
Mhm.
masculine, so I'm actually
Yeah,
laughing.
yeah.
So I suppose I went on my journey of holistic. Obviously, that's what got me through all this. And it started. Actually, it's funny because I listened to one of your podcasts with Delia Noley, and she said it started around Sharon Fitzmaurice's kitchen table. I could have been one of those people started on Sharon Fitzmaurice's kitchen table.
Beautiful
So
Sharon.
yeah,
Yeah.
Sharon is gorgeous. So it was probably started with Sharon, around her table, and actually it did, and it started actually in Ballantyne, and I couldn't even sit in meditation. I was shaken because the quietness brought the thoughts up. So everything I am now, I was the polar opposite of. I worked 70 hours a week. I don't work as much now. I was full of anxiety. Now I can sit in the calm. So meditation quietens your mind. So it made me worse because when I quietened my mind, everything started coming up. So I went on my own little journey then of doing holistic, and I suppose going back to what you asked, you asked if the feminine side was natural. Absolutely not. So, and it still isn't, by the way. So I
Mm.
could go and talk in front of 200 people, but ask me to tap into my vulnerable side and ask somebody out for a coffee. I would drive up and down to Dublin 10 times, and I would say, I'll keep avoiding it. And why? Because the fear of rejection, the
Mm.
fear of judgment, the fear of, oh my God, am I good enough? And I always listen to Oprah, and Oprah says, after everybody she interviews, everybody, whether they're the president of America or the person sweeping the roads, they will say, did I do okay? Was that okay? And they want validation. So for me, I suppose when I worked hard, I got praise, and that's how I received love. So when I worked hard, that was how I tapped into that part of me that satisfied me for a long time. So when I bring back and go into the feminine side, it's like, oh, I have to tap in and I have to be honest and open, and the fear of, if I really let myself be seen, the real Gretta McManus, not the entrepreneur, not that person that, worked in hairdressing, listened to everybody. Who am I? And that's what I'm still trying to work out. And that's where the vulnerable Gretta comes in. That's where the silly side comes in, the fun. And that's the part I love. But also, I find it hard to open up because if I let it out, I'm afraid of, if somebody says something to me, that no harm of theirs, it's just, does it bring something up for me? Because I was so much in my masculine side. And my masculine side got me through life, but it's to bring them into balance now. So that's where I'm at, trying to bring this vulnerability, little Greta, the inner child, to meet this entrepreneur Greta, And most people probably know me up here. A lot of people do see this side of me, and I know they love it. I know they do, because it is the more fun side. It's the softer side of me. It's the real me, the real me. Now we have to have parts of both of it, obviously, to survive, but it is where you really, really find yourself.
Yeah. What's the most, and I think you're sort of touching on it there. I was going to ask you, what's the most enjoyable aspect of sort of coming into this feminine side of yours? Because I think it's good to talk about, because it sort of, as you talk about it, it brings you alive, because I'm
Yeah.
feeling that too. I find a childlike quality. So just maybe talk a little bit about what that looks like. So, because it obviously is getting bigger and growing in you, because it is who you are.
I suppose I really talk about the mind, and I feel so powerful about the mind that our mind controls us if we allow it. So when I ask my mind to step aside, and who am I without my thoughts? I am this vulnerable person coming from love, and I can see it in myself, coming from love, coming from, the child within myself. And it's just, yeah, it's from your heart. It's when you come from your heart and your gut and not your head. I was always in my head. I'm still a lot in my head. But when I sit and I listen to my gut and my heart, it brings that soft side out in me. So, yeah, I hope that answers what you've asked me.
Yeah.
It's difficult for me, to be honest, to be in that side of me, but I am. Do I like it? Yeah, I really do. But there's also a fear in there that somebody might say something that throws me back into my inner self again, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's something I'm still working on within myself. And
And that's sort of the healing as well,
yeah,
isn't
that's where
it?
the healing
Because,
is,
you
and that's
know,
where I'm
yeah,
at the moment.
yeah,
And this year, 2024, for me, has been all about the flow, grow, everything I'm asked to do. This is why you and I are on this today. And if I haven't gone looking for it, I've said yes to everything. So I'm really out of maybe that's coming into the answer. I'm really out of my comfort zone this year. I say yes to everything I would normally say no to, because it's kind of nearly out of my control, because I controlled my mind, I controlled my work, I controlled everything. Um, and no, I don't control everything, but within my business, I
you
talk about
try
it
to,
under,
yeah, as
yeah.
best, yeah,
But then when I let it flow and grow, all these opportunities are coming to me. And we do talk about the law of attraction a lot and whatever. And when I'm in the flow, I grow. And
yeah,
that's what I realized, that this year for me, I went into a complete health journey 3 years ago. So after I went through my downturn and my breakdown, and after my breakdown, I had breakthrough. So when I broke down, I broke through, and I talked about the turning points of my father and my daughter, and then I started working on myself, and I, did meditation courses, I did Reiki courses. I've done lots of things, and people say to me, why do you do them? For my own self growth. That's what I did them for. My passion is to make people look and feel better through hairdressing. I am a coach, so I want to pursue that from this day forward. So, and that's, it's just, I believe that I've been put on this journey. It doesn't matter your degree in school, of course it does to some people. But for me, I've been put on this journey to walk the walk and talk the talk. So anything I ask my clients or my people, my tribe to do, I've normally done it myself. So, they might say to me, oh, but I can't do that. Absolutely not. I don't allow that word to be anywhere. Of course you can. Take the T away. I can do anything. And I transformed my whole fitness journey at 50. I never lifted a weight, I never did an exercise. It wasn't in, because work was the only thing I used to really put my soul into, and fun, and I did have lots of fun along the way. But I never looked after myself. So I went into this fitness journey, and that's why I say everything I was then, I'm the complete opposite of now. I looked at myself, I healed my own body. I was to have an operation, and I took dairy and pig away from my diet, and it healed all the yeast infection within myself. So the doctors were a bit astonished that I didn't have to do this. So, I believe pain or triggers in our body to look at our bodies. Some things are out of our control. I know that. But the things that we control, we need to take responsibility for. We're responsibility for our own lives, our own bodies, our own thoughts. And I think that's the hardest thing for me. I'm an overthinker, believe it or not. And overthinking, I wish there was a tablet for it. I definitely would take that tablet if there was a tablet for overthinking. I definitely would. I am
I don't think you need to, you know. The
yeah,
more,
but
because it's just like you described, coming back into balance. And you know what comes to me when you were describing the busyness, because I think so many of us have it, is that the busyness is a trauma response. I was listening to or reading something about it, and I sort of know it, because as long as we're busy and the mind is busy, we don't go into the body. Because when you go into the body, you feel. And to me, you're on, that's what you're describing. I think that is the journey nearly we're all on, who are open to it, because that's where our power is. We're back in the body and we're feeling everything, then we flow. But we have to feel the good and the bad. Isn't that the thing? We feel
yeah, and it's
everything.
interesting you say that. I said to one of my ladies the other day, I said, you have to feel to heal to reveal. And she said, but I can't feel. I said, but you have to feel. For me this year, loneliness came up, and loneliness around family. I'm not a lonely, I have loads of friends and loads of tribes, but it was a real feeling. I had to sit with it. I sat with it, and I knew it was, I didn't block it with work. I didn't block it with sugar. I sat in it. Was it easy? Absolutely not. And I'm not going to say it's easy for anybody. It actually isn't. So I really understand why people find it difficult. Absolutely. And if they can't, they can't. But if you can, you do heal and you reveal something within yourself to yourself. And for me, loneliness came up really, really strong. And instead of trying to fill it with coffees with people and dates with people, I've just sat with it. I absolutely sat with it. It was
What
difficult.
did you discover, Greta, when you sat with it?
That you have to fall in love with yourself. You have to be happy with yourself. If somebody is annoying me, this is what I believe. It's something in you that needs to be healed. If there's something you adore and love about somebody, it's something in you that you want to work towards. So what I felt was, if somebody annoyed me, say Coco annoyed me, somebody and whatever, and I had to sit, I journal a lot. Why did that person annoy me? What did it bring up for me? Wayne Dwyer has this analogy, if you squeeze an orange, what comes out? Orange juice. If you squeeze Gretta McManus, what comes out? Loneliness. What's beneath the loneliness? Jealousy. Jealousy that other people have mothers and fathers and siblings and partners, and sit with it. It's not their fault. You have your own journey. So you need to sit with this, heal it, reveal it to yourself. You have to fall in love with yourself. Am I there yet? No. But I'm loving myself more. You have to be happy with yourself. I was driving around in an Audi when my businesses were crashing. Did the Audi make me happy? No. I had all these material things when I had my businesses because I was putting it through the business. Did they make me happy? Momentary. Absolutely. But when I lost everything, I still couldn't sit with myself. So you have to be happy with yourself. Don't be looking for perfection. There's no such thing. Perfectionists are the hardest people on themselves in the world. Do I love everything about myself? Absolutely not. But I'm loving myself more and more and more. And I realise that, a lot of people are looking for validation, approval, praise. Like I said, what Oprah said, we're all looking for it. I'm looking for it. Not from people outside myself, but, look in the mirror and say, well done. Praise yourself. And that's what I've learned. People are on triggers. Everything is inside ourselves.
Yeah.
I know sometimes people think it's a cliche and it's boohoo. Believe you me, it is. It's really inside your soul. It's very difficult to sit with it because it can bring up loads of stuff. And, that's my passion, is to help people through that because I've worked through it. you can read all the books, and every book gave me the exact same message. I didn't do them. There's no point reading the books if you don't do the message. You know, keep life simple, keep things simple, keep food simple, keep friends simple, keep life simple. I overcomplicated everything. But my mind, you know, I always now say to the mind, step aside, just step aside. What's really going on? What feeling is coming up for you? And a lot of them come up every minute of every day.
But isn't that the key? And I know you talk about that as well, as following the gut or the heart, not the mind, because to me, that is our essence, whatever you want to call it, our essence, our spirit is in a body. We're here in a body. The mind, to me, is here to serve the heart. That's how I've come to in my own life, that it's not that the mind is bad, but it's here to serve the greater, the soul, that aspect of us that knows what we're really here, you know, who we really are. Because when you talk about the busyness and the doing and the self-love, what it really brings up in me, because I've suffered from it myself, and I remember going to a healer, is this fear of rejection and abandonment. And he said, well, you're actually rejecting yourself by a lot of the things I was allowing. So it does seem to be a core wound in so many of us. And I think everywhere in the world, but particularly in Ireland, there is this sort of, our worth is associated with, like you said, success, the busyness. And if you keep people in that mode, you can very much keep them in a sort of controlled state, because, as you said, the fear, like, does that sort of, to me, the freedom is in coming into that place. Like, are you experiencing life very differently now as a result of that shift? Like, I know you're in process with all of this, but how you're experiencing life and what happens, is
I'm
it?
definitely calmer, but I put that down to my routine. I
Mm,
say to everybody, you know, we all have choices, we all can make decisions. We all have the same 24 hours in the day, but we all have to have our own toolboxes. So what my toolbox is, yours isn't. So mine is a morning routine. It's, you know, first of
yeah,
all,
talk us through some of the things that
yeah.
might be useful
So
for
I
others to
train the
hear.
mind, first of all. So I listen to something in mindfulness straight away, because my overactive mind is the morning, not the night. My mind goes like a train in the morning. So if I was to have anything that wasn't settled within myself, it's the morning. Some people's it's night. Sometimes people dip in the day, hourly, whatever. For me, some people don't dip at all, but for me, it's the morning. So I go to the gym in the morning. You know, I have my morning routine, my 7 o'clock class. I have my mind trained first to my class. I'm around good energy people. And there's days I go in there and I cry. The tears are coming down my face. But when I come out and I move that energy in a different way, I'm a different person. So I believe in energy. You can see my passion again is energy. You know, I've done lots of things, you know, around energy, but I believe it's all, we can change
Everything
our
is
energy.
energy, really.
Yeah, and our vibration. If you're, you know yourself, and anybody listening to this, if you're in somebody's company and they're talking about negative, you're going to become negative, and you mightn't be that person. It's just their energy. It's not the person, it's their energy. But when you go to high vibration energy, you know, dance brings me alive. The gym brings me alive. Positive people. Everybody can't be positive every minute of the day, but be around people that bring you up and not down, you know. So that's my routine. Then I give my best to my clients every day, then when I look after myself. But something triggered me when you were talking there, and it's probably not relative to what you've asked me, but I was talking to one of my clients the other day, and he said he was very nervous about transitioning from being an entrepreneur to being employed. And he said to me, you know, what about if it doesn't work out? And I said, what about if it does? And he said, oh my God, I never looked at it like that. And I said, what about if it does? He said, it scares me. And I said, that's funny. And that scares me sometimes, that when I become this other person, which I know I'm becoming, like, you leave your other world behind and you leave your safety net behind. As much and all as your struggles might have been in it, you know it inside out, you know how to cope with it. I always say me and my businesses were like a relationship. So even though there was good in it, there was bad in it. I needed to divorce it, because if I didn't, I was always going to be in and out of it. But it's very hard to become this new person and go into the unknown. I think the unknown is scary. I think out of our comfort zone is scary. And that's where I've been embracing all the time. And I have two philosophies. And I say this to my clients, but remember, I have to say it to myself as well. It's very easy to give advice, but sometimes, and I'm the very first one to put my hand up and say, I don't always do it. You know, is this going to make me die or is this going to make me grow? So again, going into the divine feminine, if I had to ask somebody out for a coffee, I think I would actually have a definitely a real flicker in my heart, and I'd be going, I can't do this, can't do this, can't do this. And then I say to myself, well, are you going to die? You're going to grow. Of course you're going to grow. You know, of course you're going to
I know,
grow.
I'm sure anyone listening will go, what?
Yeah,
How could you not? But yeah, it's
yeah.
lovely to
But
hear you
yet I
say
can
that.
really, in my
Yeah, yeah,
masculine side, I make
yeah.
all these decisions like that. And then you go into my feminine side, and you know, that softness and that vulnerability, and it is the beautiful part of us. But I don't know, you said something earlier on, is it the way we were brought up and conditioned? I was definitely brought up to work hard, you know, put up and say nothing, and don't tell your left hand what your right hand is doing, and you know, things were kind of shoved under the counter. So then, you know, I was conditioned that way. And you know, I have a beautiful daughter myself, Chloe, and I just admire her so much because naturally she's going to take traits from me and traits from her father. But I love that she's following her passion, and you know, that her passion has become her hobby, has become her business. And you know, I always feel in my life my business became my business, not my passion. I'm only looking for my passion now, and what is my passion, what awakens my soul, what makes me happy. And it is,
Hearing you,
yeah,
it's I would say
working.
part of it is doing this and
Yeah,
sharing. I
yeah,
think everything we go through, doesn't it, is sort of leading us to our passion because it's sort
yeah,
of it's part of our story and who we
yeah.
are and what our lessons. Can I ask you, just as comes up as I'm listening to you about your masculine and feminine again, so if I was to ask you now, Greta, in terms of, I'm not asking you to be too specific, but a vision or a dream of, like, if you were to look at future Greta now, like, I often think it's nice without, I don't think it's, you know, we don't have to specify them, but how does she look? What's she doing? How does she feel? I just, yeah, like, because there's so many pieces of you, if, because I think it is helpful. We sort of embody what we sort of see, and you talk about your thoughts and your actions and your beliefs. So if that person was in front of you, what would she be like and doing? I think you are at that nearly already.
Very interesting again because I feel like I'm being self-directed here now, and I'm going, this is very, very powerful. So I thank you for asking me the most beautiful questions, because I think for the first time in my life, I feel free to be me. And how does that look? It looks like not being led by other people, listening to my gut, listening to my heart, following my dreams. You know, I didn't have the choices. Well, I did have choices, but I made decisions not to travel. I'd love to travel, you know, explore, and I just see beauty, freedom, and just free to be me, not part of a community. That's no disrespect to my community, not part of an identity, just be me. And that's where I am today on the 12th of September, you know, wondering who I am and allowing myself to be who I am, to be seen, to be heard. Obviously, I hope, you know, if one person gets inspired by this, that's my love and my passion and my desire, that if one person gets something from this, and I just see a sense of peace. That's what I've been living for, is peace. Peace in my soul, peace in my heart, and just peace, you know, that when I am able to close my eyes at night, that I just feel peace. So that's really my message. I feel peace, and you can't go into a shop and buy that. You
No.
can't bottle it and give it to someone. It takes, and what I do is I look at, if something isn't feeling right and I'm getting a sense it's not bringing me peace, look, everything we can't be part of that's not peace. Like, I don't turn on the television, I don't look at papers. There are choices I can make. There are other things I have to be part of, work, and but people get the better part of me because I'm so present with them. And I believe listening is a skill. And I believe to fully listen to yourself first, which is very hard, you can truly listen to other people, and I feel that that's a strong gift I have, and I'm working more and more and more on my skill of listening. And so I'm trying to listen to myself more to see where the world and the universe is going to bring me. So I hope that answers the question.
Oh, it's beautiful. And what comes to mind the minute you say that is presence is peace.
Yeah.
When we're in presence, like fully present, like you
Yeah.
said, fully present with ourselves, fully present with the person or whoever's in front of us. I'm finding that too.
Yeah.
It's still a challenge because the old can come in. But my experience is when I am completely present and to me, it sounds you're doing this because you can't talk about something really in a very authentic way unless you're doing it. Because,
Yeah.
as you said, we can read everything, we can rhyme off the lines, we can all learn them off and spout them, but we can really connect with when someone is authentically sharing this. And to me, presence is peace. We're being present with each other here.
Yeah.
I feel at peace. I hope
Yeah.
you do, you know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's a lovely, lovely
Yeah.
message because you're very much a living example of that.
Yeah. Well, it is. And for anybody listening, it's very hard to find peace in your mind. Like, I could come off this podcast and my mind will go into a train automatically, but it's just come back to the breath. I teach mindfulness, so it's all come back to the breath. I've even keeping my classes so simple now because the noise of everything, we've noise of the radio, the television, the kettle, the podcasts, everything is at our hands. You can never be alone in this world now because we have everything at our fingertips. But to sit in that peace, even if it's only for 30 seconds a day, if anybody out there can just sit for 30 seconds, I always say to people in my classes, I don't believe you can be quiet for a minute and not thoughts come in. We have, multiple thousands of thoughts coming into our brain. That's not possible, and I always say to people, don't fight your thoughts, invite them. Because if you fight them, they're going to go like the tumble dryer at 100 miles an hour. But if you just say, I ask you to step aside, some of them will step aside, some of them will stay there, and that's okay. But you'll start delving more into them, stepping aside, and you will start finding. And as I say, if it's only for 30 seconds, don't even talk minutes, whatever. The people that can do it longer, they're at it for years. Because it's the natural, the mind is
Yeah.
the
I
machine.
think a lot as well when you say that, Greta, for me is it's not about, because as you said, the thoughts just will always come up. It's, do we attach and create a story from them?
Yeah.
Because they just can happen, and you can, they say they can be clouds. And I know it's easier sometimes than others, but my experience is when I have a lot of trauma and whatever going on inside or wounds and the thoughts come, I automatically attach because it takes me away from what's going
Yeah,
on here. But
absolutely.
whereas if I address, as hard as it is, slowly but surely, the trauma that's there, the thoughts don't hold as much attraction because there's nothing to stick to, because that wound is sort of healing up, it's like a wound in your arm. And so that story isn't
So
relevant.
what helps me, Celine, is, and I'll just give a few tips.
Yeah.
Journaling.
Yeah.
If you can't fight them and you're inviting them and they're still there, get a fire on a piece of paper, journal, write. I have a lady, she says, I write over the writing, so she never reads it again.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Get them out of your head. If you have to talk to a friend, talk to a friend. If you have to talk to somebody on the phone that you've never heard of, there's all these ways of channeling our thoughts now. 2, fun, laughter. It's my biggest ingredient in my life, and believe it or not, it's free. People think you have to buy it. No, you don't. You have to create it. It's actually free. Fresh air is free. Get out in the fresh air. It doesn't matter if it's in the rain. Just buy proper rain gear. Find your toolbox. I love dancing. I love fun. I love people. They're my things. I have brought exercise into my life. It was never naturally there. Find what works for you. Don't look at this person over here and says, oh, I have to be doing everything they're doing. Absolutely not. But find things. Come away. I say to people, they say to me, I don't have an hour a day. That's wonderful. If you don't, I accept that. But, lots of people are scrolling online 2 hours and 3 hours a day. If you can remove that and just take 10 minutes on your lunch break, get into fresh air. I know all the positive people are telling you the same thing, but it does work. It absolutely does work. Get out of your head, get into your body, swim,
I think
dance.
that's number one. Sorry, Greta, I have to say,
Yeah.
in whatever way you do it, our
Whatever way, it
body
doesn't matter. There's
is
nobody,
key.
we're all on, this is my belief, we're all on a soul journey doing the best we can with the tools we have. So get your toolbox. For work, you have to work. Not everybody works, but if you choose to work, and get your toolbox that gets your strength, your well-being toolbox. And then, do what you want with it. We're all on a journey. Don't listen to everybody else. You have one life, only one life. It's your life. Make your decisions, make your choices. Don't be afraid. Get out of your comfort, grow. And if you don't, that's okay too. But, I always talk about the toolbox. It's just fine. Don't follow the crowd.
Yeah.
Don't follow what they're
We're
all
not here to be part of the crowd. We're here to be
Yeah,
ourselves.
exactly.
Okay,
And if you
really.
fall on your back and get up again. If you fall on your face, you're going to find it hard.
You came from a family-run business.
Yeah, you get up and you get
So
on with it.
you have a lovely mix of the do and the
Yeah,
feel. And
yeah,
it's really, can I ask you as well, you're gonna pull some cards before we
yeah,
finish up, but before we do that, because it's lovely just to hear the journey where you've been and even where you are now, I can feel it off you. And if you were again to look into the future, or not even into next year and say, because you said something earlier, and I think it's a phrase by Marianne Williamson in a book called Love, I think it is, where she says, our greatest fear is not that we are inadequate, our greatest fear is that we are more powerful than we could imagine. It's like that question
yeah,
you asked that man about,
yeah,
when he
yeah.
said, if I could
It's to fear
fail. We
success.
have this sort of,
Mm.
so if Greta's not afraid of her power, what is the thing that most excites you? You want to step into, like, let's say now, next year. Yeah,
Coaching
coaching.
clients,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
And
We'll talk a little bit about that so people will know, and I'll put all the
yeah,
details in
I've
the show
overthought what I
notes
want to
here.
be, so this gives me an opportunity to tell you who I am. I've
Yeah,
overthought the name. It's like calling something a brand, right? So I just decided I want to be me, Gretta Gretta McManus, Gretta Mac, whatever people know me by. I've thought about, do I want to be a life coach, transformation coach? I just want to give people the tools, so transformation, I suppose, of where they're at, how they get there, and to roadmap it. So just say you're in a job, you want to transition, how do you get that? You're in a place maybe of not good well-being, how do you do that? I get a lot of this saying, oh, I'm too late, I'm too this, I'm too that. Absolutely not. It's never too late to start. It's never too early to start. It's just, you need to start. There's no right decision. There's no wrong decision, but the wrong decision is making no decision. So you can start, and people talk in our world about goals and things. It's never about the goal. I don't normally achieve my goals, but it's the person I become on the way. So if you make one small change, it's very, very, very positive. So for me, I like to make people, I like to support people. So I like to keep people accountable so that they feel they can ring me, be open and honest, and through hairdressing then, and I'm a barber as well. I love
wow.
barbering. And, to make people look and feel better. So it's to look through your hair, through my gift of hairdressing, and to feel. For me, I'm in the feeling at the moment. When I
That's
looked
the journey.
well, I
Yeah.
didn't feel good. When I felt good, I didn't look good. So now people are looking at me saying, you're different. What's different? I don't look at what I look at, we'll say, in a physical way. I feel good, and that's the difference. and it's all about how you feel. It doesn't matter if you go and spend 10,000 in some clinic and it transforms you. If you feel good afterwards, that's amazing. But if you still don't feel good, it's like the Audi car. I felt good in it for 5 minutes, but it didn't give me the long-term feeling I was looking for. But that's where we do as coaches. We also motivate you. We push you forward. Some people just need the push. They need to where to start. Anybody that knows me, once they come under my wing, it's like, I'm here to support you, encourage you, listen to you. I'll be on your journey. And if you fall, it's fine. Just remember, fall on your face. Or fall on your back, not your face. Get you up again. Failure is success. That's what we have to remember. The biggest and best business people in the world, when I was in coaching college, it's the biggest people that are successful that failed. Failure is the biggest motivation for anybody. But people don't like calling I failed. Absolutely. I failed at lots of things. I succeeded at lots of things. But it's my failures that have driven me, absolutely driven me, So, so that's where I see myself, and I'd love to do talks. I would love to talk in groups and I'm motivated by people feeling better and looking better. And when you follow your passion, it just automatically follows you. And, things come to you like you and me here today. So, that's where I see myself.
Beautiful. And what comes to me as I listen to you, a woman who has grown up, in a family-run business, has been through all of that, lost it all, and the word transition comes to me because I think so many of us in the world that we're living in are facing transition because we live in a world that is going through a massive transition. So I think someone like you who has been there, and also when you mentioned it really struck me the words, I'll take you under my wing. I think that's just gorgeous. It's like what really strikes me is someone who's going through a transition, is very raw maybe and vulnerable. You take them under your wing until they're ready to fly again and you help them fly again. And I think that's, I'm getting the shivers as I say it. It just feels beautiful because you have all of that. And you have it in spades because you've been through, as you said, the masculine, you know how to deal. And I love when you talk about you have a lot of dealings with men. And I think that's really beautiful too, because I think a lot of men are struggling to come into what is it to be a really authentic masculine, not the masculine we've been told we should be, all of us, which is very distorted and is not supportive, I think, of who men genuinely are and what that energy that is so, so beautiful and badly needed in the world. So it's wonderful to see that you're supporting men.
And it is, Celine, it's because, in barbering, most of my male clients will say to me, "You're more than a barber." You pull this stuff out
I think
of
you
me,
found your market there.
I don't know how, lads are just, they're brilliant because they say it as it is. I don't know how you pull that out of me, but I've told you everything, And it's because you listen to them because I ask questions in a certain way that they never get asked. And they feel safe that they can answer. And it is very interesting. Whereas women, we are more open and we are more inclined. Once the hairdresser puts their hands on you, you're just opened up. Men are just
for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Even myself with my own hairdresser, and you're opened up. But like with men, it's definitely. And I do see that men aren't supported. There is support out there for them, but they don't know where the support is as easy as ladies do. And
you're setting up a new corner shop.
A new corner.
With your coaching and support and your nurturing. Really.
Well, I do. There are a little two background business ideas coming to the forth next year, hopefully, and it will be to support both men and women.
Beautiful.
But, that will be for the future.
That's the time. It's the time. Thank you, Gretta. I just think you've just really lifted my spirits. You're so inspiring, what you've been through, what you've come back from. But the gifts that you have, really, really so special, that you have come from where you've been and just your family and how you talk about your parents. I think there's so much wisdom there and so much that you're carrying through now in a different way, having come from having it all, what it looked like to be having it all, and then losing it, and sort of coming back in a new way, supporting others. So it's just so wonderful, wonderful. I will put everything in the description box here as to how people can contact you. But I'd love you in your feminine energy to pull us a few cards before you depart, because this is lovely. I think it's just this lovely blend.
And thank you, Celine.
That you have going. It's just beautiful.
Yeah, and I do love the cards, and they're just fun, and they're guidance, and they're also, I very much work for my intuition, which is my stomach and my chakra.
You pull the cards for men.
Oh, they love it. They love it.
Of course they do. Someone said that to me. Men love the sage more than women.
They love it. Yeah, absolutely. Actually, because you know what? They don't read into things as much. They just take it as facts, where we'd be thinking, I don't know.
So this is a message for all of us now.
Yeah. So the first card out is divine timing.
Beautiful.
So that's definitely relative to everybody, and anybody that's listening to this, it's divine timing, and you were meant to listen to it. And it's definitely divine timing for myself and Celine in our lives. And the second card is breaking free.
Wow.
There's no coincidences in that.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah. And it's breaking free for us all of our old belief systems and becoming our new selves. And it can just be on a daily basis, whatever. It's just, for me, that's very relative, and I think for yourself, Celine. So these are the power animal cards. These are probably my favorite one because I love masculine energy. That's
What's the name of the cards? Sorry.
They're animal cards.
Oh, gorgeous.
Yeah, they're power animals. So forgiveness. So let go of all your judgments. And that's one thing I talked about there. You know, if the judge comes up within myself, if I'm judging somebody, we all do it, so none of us perfect, you know, that person, blah, you think, okay, what has that person brought up for me? It's like what I was saying when the loneliness came up. You know, it's like, you know, jealousy came up for me. So forgive yourself for feeling jealous, but it's okay to feel jealous. If somebody has a partner, somebody has a mother or a father, or the life that you think you want, you know. So forgive ourselves, it's very, very important. And these are the romance cards, so they can be, you know, lots of people, my ladies think, oh, it's all about love. It's not, it's all about relevant where we are at the moment. And this is very relevant. Healing family issues. And it says, your love life benefits as you forgive your parents. So again, I suppose as I talk about my own parents or anybody, it's, you know, sometimes a lot of people can say, you know, oh, if I had a different childhood, I would be blah. If I had this childhood, I had the best childhood. You know, you had the childhood you had. They did the best with the tools they had. And for anybody that's parents out there, it's the next generation doing the exact same thing. So it's just, everybody is doing the best they can. And my parents did the best they can with me. And I'm very grateful for you, Celine, because you made me really realise today that my real strong values came from my childhood, whereas actually I didn't think until today. So every day is a school day, and knowledge is power. You know, I'm going to take that away today, and that wisdom, and I'm going to learn, and I'm going to grow even more because of that. So they're the cards, and yeah, so I will actually take a picture of the cards and I will post them on my own.
Beautiful.
I'm sorry. So thank you. Celine.
Thank you. Final words, any final words before we finish?
Yeah, well, who am I? I believe that everybody should have fun. I believe that if today you're listening to this and there's something you think I'm putting off, just do it. If it's going to make you grow, you know, go for it. I thought about something yesterday. Grow. It'll either make you flow and grow, or it'll make you fall and fail. So what? You can get up again, but remember, get up in your face.
Love it. Love it. Thank you so much, Gretta.
Thank you.
Greatly appreciate your time. And thank you so much, everyone, for listening. Until the next time. And make sure to reach out. All of Gretta's details will be here in the description box. Thank you. Bye, everyone.